Welcome to Sold with Webinars, a podcast that aims to uncover how the most successful experts, coaches, consultants, and e-course professionals sell their products and services with just one sales presentation or webinar. A simple sales webinar can transform the business and life of a solopreneur. And this podcast will show you how other experts just like you are generating 6 and 7 figures per year online with their webinars. So let's get started. Hey, what's going on, webinar pros? Joel here, and oh boy, you guys are absolutely in for a treat today. Welcome to another episode of Sold with Webinars. I brought a guest expert on for you today. It's been a while since I've done an interview style podcast for you. You probably don't want to hear me blabbering on doing my solo episodes, so I want to change it up a little bit for you today. Brought a guest expert on, somebody who I've actually brought on twice already before. So, you know, if I'm bringing him on for a third time, then it's something fantastic. My boy Travis Stevenson runs a company called Chatmatic, and this dude is all up in his business with messenger bots, right? And I'm not talking about automated messenger bots. I'm talking about something very unique that he's doing to get sometimes 500x boosts in his sales, 500% boost in sales, using a very interesting way to integrate messenger bots into his webinar funnels. Now, Travis is a tried and true marketer, and so basically what I do is I bring him on and I just open up the mic for him for 45 minutes and he just gives us, everything that he possibly knows. Please, please, please pay attention. If you hate money, then go ahead and just hop off right now. You don't need to watch this episode, but pay attention to what Travis is doing in his sequence to build more relationships, build more conversations, and how he's using this to drive a huge spike, huge needle mover spike in sales with messenger bots. Okay, without further ado, let's jump into today's episode. Travis, what's up, man? Welcome to the show again.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, I loved how the first episode came out. It was a lot of fun. I love sharing this stuff, especially with people who are as kind of nerded out by webinars as I am. So it's fun.
Yeah, so Travis is, if you haven't listened to the first episodes, Travis is also a webinar aficionado, webinar expert in his own right. He is doing some things that I've never even touched before in the world of chatbots. And so he's a brilliant marketer. He piqued my interest. I've been following him for a little while. I've been wanting to get him on the show again because he's doing some amazing new things that people aren't even aware of that you can do with chatbots and messenger bots that are just blowing his conversions up in terms of boosting sales, boosting performance all throughout the webinar journey. As you may or may not know, Travis owns a software called Chatmatic, which is a messenger bot software. So I've been following his posts recently. The numbers that he's been sharing are just through the roof. And so as any curious marketer would want to know, I pinged him and I said, hey, man, let's jam about this and let's get you in front of my audience because they need to hear what you're talking about. So Travis, give us a little kind of state of the industry, an update of what's going on. Because I know what we're talking about today, nobody's doing it. This isn't just standard messenger bot stuff.
Oh yeah. I think the funny thing is I believe that most times when something new and exciting happens, people go with these polarizing thought processes. And so when Messenger, about 6 to 8 months ago, everybody's conversation around Messenger was, it's going to replace email. It's going to replace email. It was the headline people were using. And it made me sick because I'm it's not even the same thing. That's like me comparing handing out flyers in the street in New York City, which is what email is. You're hoping to get people's attention as they pass by. And it's just kind of that's the way that it goes. It's like comparing that to walking up to somebody and shaking their hand. And Messenger is truly at its definition, at its core, Messenger is conversation. And there's not anything in the world of selling that moves somebody faster down the sales process than conversation. There's nothing. There's no amount of multiple page funnels. There's no webinars. There's no email. Nothing can convince somebody to purchase faster than getting answers to their questions, feeling like they know somebody. And how do you do those things? You ask, you talk to people. And, the most minimalist example is, my wife, whenever she goes into a boutique to shop, there's always a question. She'll ask one question. Hey, where do you have your white dresses? And it's like, I look at it very logically and I say, well, I look for white dresses, and if I don't find them, but there's a comfort to being able to talk to somebody, to know somebody's there, and just to be able to ask one question, right? So Messenger provides us that opportunity. As business people, you can put Messenger on your website. You can send broadcasts through, which I don't actually advise, which is funny because it's the only thing anybody ever talks about is build your list, broadcast. Some of the biggest guys in the space are doing it wrong. And it's and I'll discuss this later on, December 31st, the game's changing. So what I decided to do was I wanted to dive in and see where could I take these conversations, because as of right now, everybody's thought process on Messenger goes down to these, like, it's got to be these in-depth bots, and like, how would I integrate a bot with a webinar, and what am I going to do? And we overcomplicate it because we don't understand that the most effective thing that you can do is let the conversation help people get out of their own way. And we live in a very noisy world. That's just the way that it is. There's social media, there's news feeds, there's pop-ups, there's, all the time. And so let's say somebody, and this is what I found out, was let's say somebody is, I'll take it from the very top and I'll describe how I take this down. The very first thing that I realized was you could send a private message to somebody when they comment on a post or on an ad. And I thought, well, now that's interesting, because we all know as marketers that commenting is conversation, and conversation is Facebook. Conversation is what Facebook wants. That's what they push for. And that's why, if you've noticed, you can't run an ad to buy conversations. You can buy engagement, which could be a like, maybe could be a comment, they count it, but like, you can't specifically go after a comment. And that's because it has to be real. It has to be authentic. There's got to be like feeling behind it. They don't want people commenting post all saying I'm in. They want them saying something real. And so I was like, well, let me run my normal webinar ads with and we did a split test, $30,000, A versus B. And this was like the truest. I did this because I obviously owned a software that provided the service that did this. So we ran this split test, $30,000. I ran an ad to a webinar. On ad A, everything was the same. Ad B, at the very bottom of the description, it said, P.S. If you're a little skeptical, I get that. Comment below telling me how many times you've been on a webinar and been disappointed, or comment below letting me know what the one thing that you're looking forward to on this webinar is. And I'll send you right now a PDF that outlines what we're going to talk about on the call so that you get a little bit more information. And here's what happened. Ad B with the comment call to action said, and now again, everything was the same. The link was the same. The image was the same. Everything was identical. The one that asked people if they were skeptical to comment, one got a comment, then got another comment, a third comment. Now curiosity's building in people who are seeing the ad that haven't seen it. Why is everybody commenting? Mm-hmm. Like, what are they saying? Oh, this is cool. Let me go at like, there's an actual meme for this where, like, the Michael Jackson meme where he's eating popcorn. And it's like, I just came here for the comment. It's like
that creepy one.
Yeah. People do that though. People, when they see other people, like, imagine it in real life. And this is the easiest way to describe it all the time. A bunch of people huddled up around one person, watching them do something and talking about it. You're going to go over out of curiosity and be like, what's happening here? What are we talking about? And so it started to actually have this viral spin where after $30,000, one of the ads had like 2,800 comments. And I'm not even kidding. The ad that didn't ask for comments was somewhere around like 100 comments. Just natural, like more info comments, whatever. And so what was crazy is we did an analysis. Oh yeah, it was incredible. And I did an analysis on reach. I did an analysis on lead cost. I did an analysis on value, how much more sales came from B than A. I had a 500% increase in sales from the ad that asked for commenting. I had 3 times the reach on the ad that asked for commenting, because how many times do you sign on Facebook and you see an ad, you see a post in your newsfeed that says, so-and-so commented on this post.
Yep.
Facebook wants you to engage in commenting. So now we're incentivizing that through our ad process. So we reach more people, our lead cost goes down, and the difference here was amazing. Ad A was like $6.50 a lead, which I'm willing to pay because my niche, I can make more than that. The one that asked for commenting was like $3.50. Yep. Because when they comment, they get the PDF, but then I say, don't forget, go sign up for the webinar.
Yep.
Get a reminder. There's a lot more that goes into that, which is always exciting stuff. But then moving them down the chain, what I wanted to get people into Messenger because I knew the more they were into Messenger, the more potential I had eventually to have a conversation with them. Mm-hmm. And I started noticing, and I think a lot of people who do webinars, you probably notice the same thing. Let's say you run webinars through Facebook and you get people to attend. That night after the live webinar, there's always a handful of people who send you a message that ask like one simple question. Hey, do you have a refund policy? And it's like, again, that's the example of my wife going into the boutique and asking one simple question. It's like, yeah, you were on my webinar where I said I have a refund policy,
yep.
But maybe they have lives, right? Maybe they had to walk out and they missed that part. And so by answering that one simple question, I was noticing that we were getting like 25% of people who were asking questions to purchase by just answering their questions. And they're simple, how quickly can I access all the training material? Well, it's all available instantly. I'm in. And if you don't answer that question, they might not come in. Because what they've done is they put out a beacon, right? They're like, they just want to be heard. And they're like, do you have a refund policy? If you don't get back to them, they're going on with their life. They've forgotten because they put the conversation is now on you. If you don't reply, it's out of their mind. And that's the way that our minds work. As soon as something is off our plate, we forget about it. That's why smartphones make us stupid, right? It's like, hey, save these phone numbers and set these reminders. Like as soon as it's out of our head, it's out of our responsibility. So getting everybody into Messenger, I started realizing, obviously I had my Messenger subscribers were going up. That was great. When I would go live on a webinar, I used it for reminders, and everybody knows those common ways that you can do it. But here's the one that really separated me from everybody else is the actual ad platform that Facebook provides for Messenger. People don't understand it. And so right now, when you go into your ads manager, and I welcome everybody who is watching this to do this, go into your ads manager, go to create a new ad, and choose the objective messaging. It's probably something you've never done before because you don't know, you feel uncomfortable. Like, what am I going to do? And you also realize that when you select that, it's an ad that shows up in the news feed. When you click on it, it opens Messenger. Well, now I've got to have a bot. That's where people complicate it. Here's where things get really good. When you click on that new ad, it's going to open an ad set, right? That's naturally what happens next. At the very top, there's a drop down, and the drop down by default selects clicks to Messenger ad. If you click on that little drop down, which I'm telling you, 7-figure ad agency people have never done this. If you click on that, it'll drop down to sponsored message. What a sponsored message is, and this is what blows me away. A sponsored message is a message that gets delivered to anyone who has an open conversation with your brand. Okay, so that's a two-way conversation. So let's say they see my ad, they comment, I send them a message instantly that says, reply right now saying the word slides, and I'll send you a 26-page slide deck, right? Now, they obviously came there to get that, so they're going to reply. So now I have a two-way conversation going. I sent them, they replied back. Facebook recognizes this as what they call an open conversation. That person is now eligible for sponsored messages. Sponsored messages are just broadcasts. Mm-hmm. It's a broadcast. It's a fancy name for a broadcast. So what I did was I decided to layer my broadcasting with activity on my funnel. So now check this out. I run my ads. I get everybody possible to comment. When they opt in on the thank you page, I say, look, right now, I'm going to give you 26 slides that you can use to take notes on our webinar. Go set reminders below. At the beginning of the webinar, I say, guys, you need these notes. Go into Messenger. I push them into Messenger. At the end, if you stay till the end, I'll give you something else. I deliver that through Messenger, right? I'm getting open conversations. Here's where things got really good for me. So when how people go on a webinar, they'll go to your order page and you get 5% conversion, right? Because everybody goes to the order page to just see.
They just want to look at it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I figured out, I'm like, a normal follow-up process, right? So you have your Facebook ads where anybody who goes to your order page, you run an ad to them that tries to bring them back, right? that ad is fighting the newsfeed. It's fighting against their attention about all these other things. It's that, like, I can see your ad and be like, oh yeah, I wanted that, but my grandma just posted pictures from 4th of July, so I want to see what's next. So it's not undivided attention. When you don't have somebody's undivided attention, again, imagine being at a conference and you're set up at a booth and trying to your business to people as they're walking by. It's difficult. Some of them may stop. And so it's not a process that you shouldn't do, right? Obviously it works, it's effective, but we're missing a bigger point. We're missing the one where now with sponsored messages, now it's like being the speaker on the stage. Mm-hmm. You've got all of their attention. You're the only thing they're listening to. You're the only thing they're paying attention to, because sponsored message will deploy, and this is where I guess the whole payoff is. You've got all these people in Messenger via your front end. They go to your order page, but they don't buy. You have an audience in Facebook of people who've been to your order page. You select sponsored message and you run an ad for $5 a day. Anybody who's been to my order page, send them this sponsored message that says, hey, you've only got 48 more hours. Now it's going to act like a broadcast that was timed based on when they visited your specific pages. Mm-hmm. So you now break down into how many segments can I create? People who visited my landing page but didn't opt in. Now, granted, you might have 2,000 people visit your landing page. Only 100 of them went, and this is a crazy stat. I'm actually going to pull it up because it's just stupid. Like, it's almost unbelievable to me that this even exists, that more people aren't doing this. Let me look at this stat here, because I was like, I just did this with my most recent webinar. We did a webinar where we ended up doing something like 50 grand in sales. And so as a webinar person, we all know the number of people you get to sign up directly equates to the amount of people who show up, and the amount of people who show up always has a dollar value, $100 per attendee or $80 per attendee or whatever it might be. And so the key is, how do I get more people to show up? Or how do I get more people to sign up?
Yep.
I can get 100 more people to sign up. That might be, if you get 20% of people to show up, that might be 20 people coming to your webinar more. And if you're making an average of $100 per attendee, you're making $2,000 by doing this. Like, yep. I'm not like overstating the numbers. I'm not like 50% attendance, because I know that's not real. So this is what I was doing, was I was running an ad, and I do this with all my webinars. Anybody who went to my landing page, I run a sponsored message to them if they've been to my landing page but they didn't opt in. Very simple audience to select. So I'm looking at the ad screenshot here. I got 136 people. So I sent the message to 400 people. Of those 400, 136 of them clicked my link to go sign up again, right? It's just basic retargeting. So Now my click-through rate, because it's undivided attention, my click-through rate is almost 30%. That is unheard of. The normal Facebook ad click-through rate is like 0.1%. 1% maybe if you're really good. And, because again, you're fighting the feed. This is undivided attention. This is like walking up to somebody, shaking their hand and saying, hey, by the way, let's go do this. 40% of people are going to be like, all right, let's do it, because I've now met you and, it's one-on-one. So here's where the stat gets crazy. 136 people clicked on my link. 133 of them opted in. I'm looking at it right now. It cost me $32.90. I was paying 25 cents per lead.
Now, just to be clear, this audience is who? The 400 people that you sent this to, where did they come from?
So they have to have an open conversation with you at some point.
And this is another open conversation podcast.
Layered it with, so sponsored messages only can go to people who have open conversations. So I spend a lot of my time getting people into Messenger. So for instance, if you went to my fan page right now, you would see I posted a video that said, hey, I've got a webinar coming up. If you want to go, comment below and I'll send you the link. Instead of putting the link in my description, where Facebook's now going to deprioritize my post, I'm doing the opposite. Now, here's one big thing that always comes up. Well, Travis, isn't that comment baiting? And doesn't Facebook dislike comment baiting? I'll be very clear when I say this. Comment baiting is very different than incentivizing natural commenting. Comment baiting is posting a picture of your dog or a video of a pug walking on his front legs peeing on a tree and saying, tag a friend and say nothing. That is comment baiting. It's much different when I have a long description that says, hey, I've got this webinar coming up. I'm going to be covering these 3 things. Here's why you've got to be there. Comment below and I'll send you a link. That's different. I'm not baiting people. I'm incentivizing people. It's a little different. But Facebook, it's not against their terms to do this. They just, if you are naturally comment baiting, they deprioritize you in the newsfeed. So you don't get to reach as many people if you're just comment below. If that's all you're doing, you're not going to reach anybody. My posts go more viral than most people's because I'm able to send my link to people who comment. And if you comment, again, we're now engaged in a conversation. I've got the open conversation going. I can tell you how you can get a link. Now you're going to go and sign up. And I don't have to promote the link. Now, again, I'm not so Messenger dogma that like, oh, all my ads are Messenger ads. Like 90% of my ads are normal ads.
Yeah.
They're normal ads the way that you would normally run them to my landing page. I just bolster everything that I'm doing with Messenger related ads. So now I run a live webinar. Night of the webinar, we get 200 people to go to my order page. But because I've been so focused on getting them into Messenger, at some point, I get, if we get 1,000 people on an order page, let's say I would probably get 300 of them have an open Messenger conversation with me now because they either sent a reminder or they commented on my post or they went at the beginning or at the end to get the notes, whatever it might be. So of those 300 people, here's what I love. The other stat is to do a sponsored message, paying a CPM, right? Because there's still an algorithm. There's still some sort of basis of payment for Facebook. The CPM is $15 on average is what they're doing right now. So for me to reach 300 people, that's 1/3. I'm paying about $6.
Yep.
$6 to reach everybody who was at my order page.
Yeah.
Sending them a reminder saying I can only hold you. And this is a good one. Here's your strategy, guys. I say, I'm holding your order, but I can only hold it for 72 more hours.
Yep.
And that makes it make sense for why I'm using Messenger, because there's a delivery of a time requirement.
Yep.
It's urgency, because that's what Messenger is. If I wanted to let my mom know that, I'm going to be in town in a month, I might send her an email, right? Because there's no urgency in that. But if hey, mom, I'm coming to town tomorrow, I'm texting her or I'm messaging her. Facebook also just released this yesterday. Well, Zuckerberg 3 days ago said this. Messenger now has more messages being sent every day than text message ever had at its peak.
Wow.
And the entire webinar world was up in arms about text message reminders, right?
Yep.
I mean, literally, that was the thing. And it still is. It's still got a ton of value. I'm not discounting the normal ways of doing things. But more people are sending messages through Messenger and more messages are being delivered than text message ever had.
Mm-hmm.
That's a shocking statistic. It's actually right now 100 billion messages are being sent every day in Messenger.
That's freaking crazy to me. And it's only going to go up, right?
It's only going to go up because as more businesses integrate into it, it becomes more of a natural thing. Like right now, if I want to go get my hair cut, I can message my hair salon on Facebook and say, hey, can I make an appointment? And if they have a bot installed, it can reply to me with a link that says, here's where you can make an appointment.
Yeah.
And it's like, instead of me having to pick up my phone and call them, which I never do anymore, this isn't a phone anymore. It's a device. It's a remote control. It's not a phone. I hate being on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
I hate it because I can't do anything else. And I was saying before, here's a great example of why, people could use bots. And I think people, again, the word bot is kind of unfriendly.
There's nothing really automated about this. This is all very personal.
Right. Very personal. You can use their first name. And again, when I send these messages, it's not like I'm trying to engage them in this long conversation of a sequence. You don't have to do that. You can, though, and I've done it before, where hey, I saw you were on last night's webinar, saw that you went to the order page. I wanted to know, did you have any questions, yes or no? You could do something like that, where then if they say yes, it engages your bot, and you walk them through this bot flow. That's for super geeks. You don't have to do that.
Right.
All you've got to do is say, hey, I'm holding your cart for 72 more hours. I've done this exact strategy with webinars. I've done it with my multiple page PLF sequences, and that even more gangbusters. Getting ready to go from day 1 to day 2, day 2 to day 3. With Messenger, you're getting 40, 50% clicks, whereas email, you're getting 10% opens. Yep. So it's different. Do I still use email? Yeah. If you're on my list, you'll get an email from me every day because you're an idiotic entrepreneur if you think that because something else works, something else doesn't.
Right.
None of this replaces anything, but doing it all together. And here's the big payoff. We did it for a live event. I sent a sponsored message to just everybody who had an open conversation with me, letting them know I've got 72 hours left on this deal to get tickets to my live event. I spent $48 to reach 4,000 people, right? So first off, I'm literally sending a message into their Facebook inbox. It pops up on their phone. It's undivided attention, all these really cool things, right? So $48, I reached something like 4,000 people. We did 11,000 in ticket sales.
Wow.
So I made 11,000 from 48. Actually, I know the $77, and we made $11,657 because I got their attention in a world that's very busy. I also let them know there was a time constraint on this. And like, think about that. If you really wanted to be on a webinar and you got a notification saying, hey, it's live right now, you'd go.
Yep.
And so it's just figuring out, and this is ultimately how I try to umbrella Messenger for people is don't think of it from the business standpoint. Don't think of it as Messenger. Don't think of it as email. Like, it's not compared to what we would normally think. I look at it and say, it's an asset delivery program. How can I use Messenger to deliver assets to the people that want them?
Yep.
And sometimes I get to pay Facebook to deliver my content in the middle of that. So if I have, somebody goes to my cart, and we're doing this with e-commerce as well. Somebody abandons cart. If they have an open Messenger conversation, you can have an ad that's running every day that brings them back. Or heaven forbid they purchase, the same thing.
Yeah. So these sponsored messages, they show up in the newsfeed, or are they pinging them on Messenger?
It's direct. It's a direct messenger into the conversation that you already have with them. So literally, as long as they have an open conversation with your brand in some way, through commenting, through going and setting up reminders, whatever, when you set up a sponsored message, it's like Facebook broadcasting for you.
Yep.
But the difference is it's based on an algorithm. So what I like is I think their algorithm sends based on when the person is likely to open it.
Probably when they're online.
Right. That's what I think. Is I don't think that they just send it like we do, which is a mass broadcast, and like I hope that they're there. I think they send it to them when they're either in Messenger or when they're on Facebook, because my open rates on sponsored messages go through the roof.
Yeah. So I can attest to this. So I was actually noticing this last week. I was on Facebook, and whenever there were I had checked all my notifications, that globe, and yeah. I'm just browsing. There would always be like another notification that would pop up, and it would be from somebody that I hadn't heard from in a while. So like Facebook is constantly feeding me notifications to keep me on the platform. It's like, I haven't heard from this person in a long time. Like, why is it?
That's a new thing that they're doing this last week, where the last 2 weeks I've noticed that too, where I'm getting notifications. Like, I'll check something, and then the next day I'll get a notification for it again.
Yep.
Of like a day ago, 2 days ago. So what they're doing, they're refeeding you notifications that you've already ignored to try to get you to come back in. I think and again, 4 days ago, it's worth reading. Mark Zuckerberg made this long post talking about the platform from a business perspective. It was really cool. And one of the things that he mentioned was time in the app is down, but the quality of the time that you spend in the app was going up. So I think this is directly what you're talking about, directly employed to get time to go up while keeping value up. I think it might be a test that they're running. The cool thing is, they treat Messenger so separate from Facebook. They want you to think of it as a different platform, because eventually I do genuinely think people are going to start doing just a significant amount more through Messenger, because you understand that it's conversation. What can you do with a conversation from a business standpoint that's meant to deliver assets? It goes all the way from little local businesses. Like my mom works at a trolley company in St. Augustine, and they get messages every day. Where can I go to buy tickets? And again, she looks at that and says, because she's in charge of answering those. She's the office manager. She looks at it and goes, if they found us, they know how to find our website. Like, go to our website and buy tickets. I tell her I don't know how many people, but a good percentage of people just want to be heard. We expect the world to come to us now. Messenger provides this great opportunity where, hey, you're advertising on Facebook. The audience that you're advertising to can see that. You're opening up a door for them to reach you. And they're going to do that through Messenger. And by ignoring it or not being in there, I can promise you this, entrepreneurs who are watching this, business people who are watching this, who run webinars, I can almost promise you, like I would wager a bet, and probably the same thing with you, there is money in your Facebook inbox right now. If you went through your Facebook fan page inbox and looked at all the questions that you maybe haven't been able to get to, or if you're on top of it, you don't get a lot of messages, I bet you've made money from some of them.
Yep.
And like, it's just responding to people quickly because that's what we want. We're messaging you because I want to reply now. I don't want to reply in 3 weeks. If I did, I'd send you an email.
Yep.
I feel like I'm being ignored. It's like, how many times have you sent a text message to a friend and been like, why aren't you texting me back? Like one day goes by and they don't text you back and you're like, dude, I texted you yesterday. What's the deal?
Yeah, send the search party.
Yeah. And so it's like that's how we are in the world that we live in right now, where when we send messages, we want instant replies. So Messenger, in my mind, Messenger automations, I don't love calling them bots, but automations, that's what they're for. Is they're for providing this instant response to people for basic questions that you might have. And I mean, one of the coolest things that you can do is set up like an auto response for your page, where if they send you a message and you don't want to do anything really in depth, you just have it reply to everybody saying, we're not here right now, but I will get back to you soon. And now, like doing an A/B comparison, if you send a message to 2 companies, let's say you're going to send a message to 2 companies, right? You're going to go buy a cell phone from one of these 2 places. You send a message to company A and you hear nothing. You send a message to company B and they instantly respond telling you, I'm not here right now, but I'll get back to you soon. You're going to feel more trusting of B just naturally because you've gotten something back from them.
Yep.
They at least told you, don't hold your breath. I'll get back to you soon. But like the other one is like leaving you in the wings. Like, when are they going to get back to me? The examples of what we've seen Messenger be able to do are endless, but that example with webinars is such a huge advantage that most webinar guys aren't using. Is everybody on the surface wants to talk about how Messenger can send reminders, and yes, it increases your attendance rate. That's a fact. It will do that. But if you're sending broadcasts to people who didn't specifically sign up for notifications, now you're going to increase attendance, but you're going to decrease conversion rate because the intention isn't there. Like they didn't plan on being at this webinar. They didn't sign up on some squeeze page where they got all the information. Now they're just attending because you invited them to something last minute. Well, again, their intention isn't there. So I've noticed 100% conversion rates go down when you broadcast everybody to a sales webinar because they don't know that's what it is. They didn't sign up for it. They're not sure. But
right.
So just send the broadcast to the people who signed up for notifications, or understand that your attendance might go down.
Yep.
Or your conversion. But I look at it and say, for me, I want to send those notifications because the webinars that I usually perform have, some real training element to it that I can tell people, look, you can take this out of it, use this, even if you don't buy whatever it is that I'm selling, here's something that you should take away from this. And then I get them into Messenger. And now in 3 months, they might see another webinar, go to my order page, and now they're in Messenger. So they get my follow-up and maybe I get the revenue from them, from that. So the last webinar, and this is where I was going to say is the kind of complete payoff, aside from getting 25-cent leads from everybody who went to my landing page and didn't opt in. Now we get to the order page. We sent, I don't know the actual numbers of it, but I ended up spending $6.97 and I made $9,500 on my latest webinar. And like, it's 6 sales, I think was the number, because it was $12.97. So it's like 6 sales or 7 sales. But all we're doing is taking people who at some point engaged in the conversation with us. So we move them down that trust path. And we know the more somebody trusts you, the more they'll give you their money. And then also with that second message, we're unconfusing things. And there's a really good quote that I like, which is a confused mind won't buy.
Yeah.
If somebody's even remotely confused as to whether you offer a refund or if you have instant access to training or whatever, now they're not going to buy. Now, immediately after everybody purchases, another thing that we do, and we use Messenger for this, we send them to a thank you page. It says, look, to access your material, click the link below. We're going to send it to you in Messenger because your welcome email might get lost in the spam folder. I don't want you to not have your login information. This is a guaranteed way for you to get it. Click above and it'll send you your login information. And we just send them a link that says, in our system, it's a link to go log in, and we use a login with Facebook anyways. So we don't have a login password type of thing we have to send them. So I can get everybody into my program. So I'm reducing my customer support now on the backside of it using that. But I'm also getting them into Messenger. So the next time I do a live event and I do a broadcast via sponsored message to everybody, inviting them to that, now I've got my buyers getting notifications, not just Joe Schmo on the street. And so all of that becomes huge. We've used it to fight chargebacks because you get somebody in a Messenger, and now when they issue a chargeback, you could even ask them, hey, can you verify the last four of your credit card? And when you do that, now it saves it in their account. And so when they issue a chargeback, here's a screenshot of them verifying that they purchased this. It's freaking nuts. Now, and again, the last thing that I guess I would leave everybody with is it can get overwhelming. I didn't do all of these steps all at once. I did one thing at a time, got it right. It improved my funnel. I did another thing. It's just like, I tell everybody with email, add one email to your follow-up sequence every week and see what happens. You don't have to do 50 emails. Do one every week or every other day. And, now you're building out these amazing sequences that one extra email might get one extra buyer. And, with webinars, it's huge.
So it seems like, correct me if I'm wrong, you're doing this a lot. You're integrating Messenger with mostly attendees, right? Do you also do this for people who don't attend? Like, are you sending?
For sure. Yeah. People who sign up but don't attend, you can get them a message immediately after the webinar. So what I've done with I run a lot of Ever webinars. So if I'll take a list of people who signed up but didn't attend, upload that to Facebook, and then cross that with my sponsored message. And at that point, less people typically are in that, but because I've gotten them to comment on my ad potentially, or I've gotten them to sign up for notifications. Now I can say, okay, look, send a sponsored message to this audience of people who didn't attend, sending them back to the webinar. We've actually got as micro, and I haven't seen the results from it yet because I haven't had a big enough audience. I've gotten as micro as I took my webinar, cut it in half, and I took a list of people who viewed the first half of my webinar and the people who viewed the second half. So if you only watched half of my webinar, if you only attended half of it, I send you a sponsored message inviting you to watch the second half. And so it's just a super small audience right now because, again, they have to have an open Messenger conversation. And so we're talking right now like maybe 15, 25 people, something like that have gone through this process. But it's also only cost me like 18 cents to send that message. So, it's not an expensive strategy to do these with Facebook. And again, the most you're going to pay is on that front end where if somebody visits your landing page but doesn't opt in, because that's going to be your biggest audience. I did it to get 133 people to sign up, and I spent $32, 25 cents a lead to get leads to webinar is in this niche where I'm capable of spending $6. That's just stupid. Now, downside, you can't really scale that up because you've got to have open conversations. You've got to have those engagements, but it's like trying to scale abandoned cart messages. You don't need to. They're profitable. Let them do their thing and scale up around it, and then that'll scale up.
Yep.
So, I mean, the actual strategy is just really thinking about the micro audiences that you have and implementing this strategy, getting them into Messenger so that you can deliver the content to them. But then also okay, I'm not going to send any broadcasts. And that's what I love about this theory is I don't do broadcasting at all. I think it's pointless. And I think if anything, it starts to ruin the relationship. And good examples, I won't name names, but there's a couple of guys who are in the space who are 7-figure and 8-figure guys who send broadcasts to their list that are not notifications. And I'm a Messenger guy. It's my job to pay attention to these. And I've unsubscribed from some of the biggest guys in the space because they're abusing it.
Yeah.
Don't send me a link that says, hey, did you hear I've got a webinar coming up? Yes or no? Because their theory is if I get them to click yes, they're re-engaging and they're opening up this new opportunity for me to market to them. Facebook doesn't consider that the case. Your first message is marketing. If the point is to get them to respond so that you can market to them, it's marketing.
Yep.
It's like handing out a flyer and trying to be like, I wasn't marketing. I was just trying to get somebody to come over and talk to me about my flyer. It's marketing. Come on. So it's just about being smart and using broadcasts to me should be reserved for the special broadcast moments. And again, December 31st is what I mentioned at the beginning. December 31st, Facebook's changing the rule. Right now, Joel, if you signed up for Chatmatic, you would have the permission from Facebook for your fan page to send broadcasts after 24 hours. It's called subscription messaging. That's a permission that you get from Facebook. As of December 31st, your individual fan page has to apply for that permission. You don't get it from Chatmatic anymore. So now if you don't apply for it, or if you do apply and you don't get it, the only broadcast you can send is a 24-hour one. But the good news is Facebook still wants to get paid. So you can still do sponsored message ads.
Yep.
So getting into it now, building your Messenger audience now, getting familiar with this and comfortable with this now, CPMs are going to go up as more people jump on this. But even if they go up to $30 a CPM, $30 to reach 100 people in an existing Messenger conversation and have their direct attention right now, I'll do that all day.
Yeah. I mean, it's a new way of, like, just Messenger conversations is a new way to advertise, and it's a new way to engage. Like, the way that webinars got started and evolved is all based around email, right? And email by nature is it's promotional, right? But with conversations, it's like, hey man, you raised your hand, right?
Yeah.
I just want to let you know, like, this thing's expiring. It is a different mentality. It's a completely
100%.
different mentality.
And with email, it's like, that's why people say, like, it always pissed me off in the beginning of hearing people saying, oh, well, Messenger is going to replace email. And it's like, they're not the same thing.
Right.
I can do so many different things with email, and it's productive in a different fashion than what I do with Messenger. And it's exactly what you said. Would you walk up to somebody and do what you do in an email every single day? Probably not. That's why you've got to be more selective with it. It's a conversation. You got to treat it as if somebody's, talking to you, and it's, conversational. But it's a game changer when you get it right. And, I'm hoping that more people really adopt that idea, because ultimately, this was a strategy I used for my own webinars where, funny enough, I was selling Chatmatic, obviously, as a software. So I was running webinars using Chatmatic, selling Chatmatic. And it's one of those where it was like very meta, where at the end of the webinar, I'm like, for any of you people who actually bought this right now, just realize, or anybody who's not buying this, just realize the reason you're here is because of the thing that you don't think has enough value to purchase right now. Something to think about.
Yeah.
You're here because of Messenger, and I used Messenger to get you here most likely. So it's like, oh, yeah, maybe this is something I should consider. Clearly this works. Like, is the proof of it. But I'm hoping more people really just understand that, Messenger should be treated not only differently from email, but don't even use it in the same phrase. The only reason people equate the two is because there's similar words used, like subscribers and open rates and click-through rates. But it's conversation versus email. And I think that thinking about it like conversation and asset delivery will help so many people. And, for me, the big thing is there's so many webinars that are so close to profitability that they're like on that edge where I don't know if I can keep this going. If ad costs go up, I can't do it. And it's like, well, if you use these strategies where it costs pennies on the dollar to just get people going back through your funnel, that's where you win, is just supplementation. And ultimately, that's the big key. Messenger is a supplement to everything that you're doing. It's not a replacement for anything you're doing. If you're thinking that way, you're overdoing Messenger. And I think a lot of people do that.
Yeah. So, dude, what does Chatmatic do to help all of this?
Chatmatic is, we break Chatmatic into two realms. It's reactive and proactive. Reactively, you can set up keyword engagements inside of Chatmatic where if somebody comes to you and says, hey, do you have a refund policy? You can look for the phrase refund policy and instantly respond to them with a response. You can create m.me links, which are how you would set reminders for your webinar. So on your thank you page, you have a button that says set a reminder here. They click it, it opens in Messenger, and you can set this whole sequence. You can send broadcasting for when you actually go live. So it's a lot. It's just a kind of a core Messenger software that allows you to do everything pretty much that you'll want to do. And it also allows you to set up the comment trigger. So if somebody comments on one of your posts or ads, you can instantly send them a message. We hold the subscriber information. The next big move that we're doing is actually, this will be great for webinar people, and I'm super excited to bring this to you guys later down the line. We can ask somebody in Messenger, hey, what's your email? And they'll click the email. It'll pre-populate based on their Facebook email. And we're going to be hopefully the first group to really integrate directly with major webinar platforms. So we can automatically sign them up for the webinar that you wanted them to sign up through this path. That'll be really exciting, obviously. I think that's kind of Chatmatic does a lot of the necessary groundwork. And then you do the rest of it through like sequencing and Facebook ads and just doing the right thing from that point.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the whole thing you talk about here with sponsored messaging is it's such a game changer because it opens up a new world of conversation, and it no longer becomes promotional. It's like, hey, listen, did you have, the one question that you had that you didn't get a chance to ask on the webinar, right? And it doesn't sound automated.
Yeah. Yep.
It doesn't sound automated. It sounds personal. And that's the difference between email, because email is so easily recognized as it's just a mass message. And you can start conversations on email too. We do it all the time, but like it's different when it comes from an inbox or text message.
It's just it's in that environment that you're used to conversing through, not email. You kind of just delete, move on. But I mean, even with email, it's like when you send a mass email, and if we're being completely honest, 98% of the time, you don't want a response.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're not expecting it. You don't want one.
Right.
In Messenger, when you send a message, you're going to get one a lot. Like, so it's even a different framework from the business mindset of like, I'm expecting a response in some way so I can keep messages short, engaging, back and forth. That's called conversation versus an email. You've got to get it all out in one chunk.
Yep.
And I've noticed they think the same way. They write long messages and it's like that. People don't react the same way in long messages. I don't read them, right? That's what TLDR is. People are like, no, it's too long. I didn't read it. Social media, too much. No, get the back and forth going, and it's a win anyways.
Love it, dude. Man, third time's a charm. Not even third time's a charm, but like mine keeps exploding every time we have you on here.
Dude, I'm excited to see what some people can do with this, and it obviously. I'm hoping that we can do another one kind of showing some behind the scenes of exactly how this process is kind of laid out, and that way people can see it firsthand.
Yeah, man. So I would love to get you in front of our Vault customers or Webinar Vault customers, where we just break down like the whole thing with the Webinar Vault is I'm reviewing webinars like 10 to 15 per month, and I just break them down, and I show, like, I've got Diller's webinar up there. I've got Dr. Axe has a webinar. I broke his down. Brian Page's Airbnb webinar, like that's all in the Vault. And like those people would love Chatmatic and would love to, because they're all running webinars. Those are all people who are running webinars and they need this stuff. So
let's do it, man. I'm all for it for sure.
Dude. All right. So this is for the podcast. So push people to where we can go connect with you, where we can find Chatmatic and everything.
My fan page is just facebook.com/Travis Income. So you can go there, you can message me, or you can go to m.me/Travis Income. That's my messenger link. Otherwise, Chatmatic. You can actually go right now, a little secret link for all of you guys. If you went to live.chatmatic.com, you can log right into our system, and you can have as many fan pages as you want running for free. There's no branding. There's no, features removed. Everything would be free up until 250 subscribers. So you'd be able to do all of this stuff that I was just talking about at zero cost with none of my Chatmatic branding anywhere. So feel free to obviously go jump on that if that's interesting to you guys who want to try it out. We're growing software, so hopefully we can do some more stuff like this to really help these sort of smaller niches, like the webinar marketing guys, get really, some really killer results. And that's sort of our growth method with Chatmatic is just focus on the people who really can benefit the most from it.
What we're doing right now is, we've put a huge focus on high ticket stuff, and conversations boost conversions so much with high ticket. And like the time to sale from the first time you reach them is so short.
So short.
High ticket that I'm my mind is spinning right now, like how I can implement this.
Here's something super cool. A little side note for you. So I do high ticket sales too. We have a pretty high ticket coaching program. And one of the things that we do is we bring everybody through Messenger at some point. What it allows you to do, this is a really cool thing that I didn't even think about, I didn't think about originally. I was doing it because I wanted to get them in Messenger. But you can go and view people's profile. So if you have a call at 2 p.m. with Gary, whatever, you can go into Messenger and see Gary, whatever, and go to his Facebook profile and get to know him.
Yep.
Like, that's crazy that it's like one click away. You can go and you can be like, oh, there he is posting a video that he was at, Traffic and Conversion Summit. Now you know that he's that guy who was there and he did this. And it's like, maybe you can look at common friends that you have in common with that person and be like, hey, now you know something when you go into the call. And you can maybe use that at some point. Maybe not, obviously not use it against him, but that becomes a point where you have common ground. Mm-hmm. Hey, so I'm going to be at Traffic and Conversion Summit. Do you go to that? Yeah, I do. And deep down, you know that they do, right? But it's like, it's so cool how you can use Messenger. And that's the ultimate big goal for Chatmatic, is to become a messenger CRM that brings people together with businesses in a way where, as a business owner, I can, create this feed of engagement with somebody, and then also be able to go and see what they do on their personal side whenever needed to. So like if they buy something from us, we'll have record of that. Make it like a really cool ultimate CRM that, obviously utilizes their most used social profile. So we can bring things from that, make it more personal. So that would be our huge, like, we get funded by some big Silicon Valley tech firm, and we can go, just crazy with 10 developers goal. But it'd be cool if we ever even get close to that.
Yeah. Well, the reason why number one, it makes total sense with high ticket stuff for me, because it's all about conversation. Mm-hmm. But the thing that I love about, you've just taken this to another level with webinar stuff. It's like, the reason why webinars work so well is because of the engagement factor. Like, people just want to be heard, and they want to jump on, and they love community. And like, aside from the education platform, but like, that is why webinars presentations will always be around. It's because it's one to many, and it provides that level of interaction and engagement. And so,
right. And you also need time to sell people flat out. Like, it's hard to sell somebody in 10 minutes when they don't know anything about your product. So webinars give you this time. And ultimately, look, our world is driven by the most valuable thing in the world, which is time. If somebody's going to invest time with you, they're more likely to invest money. And what's crazy is, if they're willing to invest time on a webinar, that's a lot of time, right? That's an hour of time. So that's why people convert higher on webinars. But then if they're willing to invest in time in a conversation, it's even more valuable time.
Yep.
And that's what I think is crazy, is like, a webinar, 1 hour of that time is worth $100 per attendee. Conversations, 1 hour would be like $1,000. Mm-hmm. You can move faster through a conversation when you can ask people things that matter to them, instead of making your webinar where it's more of a kind of a catch-all idea. But yeah, conversation itself moves people so much faster through. And we're actually doing something really cool with a couple of other big ticket coaching programs right now that are doing some high ticket stuff, doing that through Messenger as well. Because again, the conversation is just, it makes a big difference.
It's everything, man. It really is everything. People just want to be heard.
Yeah, 100%. And sometimes it's something so little and stupid. Can I start today? Yes. Okay. But I love it. It's great. And hopefully we can be a part of that for people.
Awesome. Well, Travis, appreciate this as always. This has been another goldmine episode. And if you're listening right now, if you're watching this right now, because we did this simulcast live inside of our Sold Webinars group, connect with Travis, follow what he's doing, because I promise you, this dude is on another level with the stuff that he's doing. As he mentioned before, 7-figure ad agencies don't even know what's going on with a lot of this stuff. So he's definitely somebody that you need to pay close attention to. Travis, appreciate you for hopping on for a third time today. And make sure you go check out Chatmatic and go connect with Travis, and just let him know you heard him on our podcast. And we'll see you on the next episode.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and we look forward to giving you the next one. If you're serious about launching your own sales webinar, here are a few resources to check out. For free access to the software that we built internally for the webinar agency to train our copywriters, head to soldwithwebinars.com to sign up for a free trial to the Webinar Vault and get access to regular webinar breakdowns that are generating hundreds of thousands of dollars per month. If you'd like to work with me one-on-one on your webinar project, head to thewebinaragency.com for more details. And finally, be sure to subscribe to my other podcast, Experts Unleashed, where I interview change makers and entrepreneurs to discover how they create opportunity to turn their expertise into income. Be sure to join us next time, and I'll see you there.